Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. I'm Sally Burdett, live from Johannesburg. Your top stories tonight. Pravin Gordhan says external engineers and an independent audit of Eskom will help resolve the current power crisis.
How could you have been shocked when you were there and you watched the destruction of Eskom? You were there, Mr. President.
Outrage from opposition parties questioning why the president didn't act sooner over Eskom. And Pretoria has a new mayor. The DA's Stevens Mokgalapa takes over the reins from Solium Zimanga in Swane. We start here. Eskom has dominated the parliamentary debate on President Cyril Ramaphosa's State of the Nation address today. All eyes were on Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan when he spoke in the National Assembly this afternoon. Now, Gordhan says he's met with the Eskom board. He met with them last night, and they have agreed to bring in external engineers to resolve the utilities crisis. He also says the full picture of the impact of state capture is now emerging.
The first point that we need to tell the public, and indeed all honourable members who want to listen and understand the problem, is that Medupi and Kusile were badly designed and badly constructed and are not performing at optimum levels. But we've also taken new initiatives where the board and myself have agreed that we are going to bring in external power station engineers, have an independent audit done on what is exactly going on so that we put Eskom back on track and give South Africans sooner rather than later the assurance that we have an entity that is able to give us the energy security that we require. The diversion that was presented by state capture shall be overcome. We will continue to build developmental institutions. We will continue to build the capacity of the state and continue to ensure that South Africa achieves the true promise that it is capable of achieving. Thank you very much.
Well, the president faced heavy criticism in the National Assembly as MPs debated this afternoon. EFF leader Julius Malema says his party is against the unbundling of Eskom, while DA leader Mmusi Maimane questioned how the president could be shocked about Eskom when he was there when Eskom was destroyed. Now, of course, you may remember in 2014, while he was deputy president, he headed up Eskom's so-called war room set up to deal with the country's energy challenges.
What worries me the most is that this morning's headlines say that, Mr. President, you were shocked when the lights went off. How could you have been shocked when you were there and you watched the destruction of Eskom? You were there, Mr. President.
Your approach to Eskom is going to destroy the power utility, and as people who will be here and still active in the next 30 to 40 years, we are not going to allow you to destroy Eskom for quick personal gains. What is more painful is that you have abandoned politics and you put profit and business in everything else you do. There is no ideological justification you can give on why you want to unbundle Eskom.
Well, the debate will continue tomorrow in the National Assembly and the president will reply on Thursday. Stage 3 load shedding has taken its toll around the country today. Rush hour traffic has been severely impacted and small businesses in particular are battling to trade with the power outages. We'll go to Cape Town now, where load shedding hit 3 times today in the Central Business District. Our reporter Atim Tongana has been moving around the city. She's currently in Athlone on the Cape Flats. What can you tell us? I believe load shedding is underway as we speak in Athlone. Am I right?
That's correct, Sally. And in fact, you're seeing a lot of people streaming into takeaway restaurants trying to get supper and dinner for tonight. As you may know, they are, like the rest of the country, affected by stage 3 of load shedding. Now, I'm just going to move out of shot so I can show you that it is actually getting darker here in Athlone, and traffic lights are also not working, similarly to what we saw in the Cape Town CBD. And like I said, many people trying to make their way to local takeaway shops trying to get food for tonight. This particular shop in Athlone has a generator running. It's one of the only shops in this area that actually has a generator to keep the lights on. Other shops around the area are actually very dark at the moment. Now I'm just going to try to move in and get some reaction from the shop owner and ask him how load shedding has impacted his business. A very good evening to you, sir. Just a word on how load shedding has affected your business. We see you do have a generator, but how are things going?
Very difficult, but we're surviving. So when Eskom puts you in the dark, we put light on your table.
Right. Thank you very much, gentlemen here owning this particular takeaway shop, saying that if Eskom is keeping the lights off, they're doing everything that they can to make sure that they put food on people's tables. Lots of people lining up here coming to get food for tonight, Sally.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. That's Atiyom Tungana. She is in Athlone in Cape Town. Of course, she was around the CBD of Cape Town earlier today, and massive snarl-ups in the traffic, as we have seen in other areas, as load shedding took place again today. Well, the capital city has a new man at the helm. Following a special council sitting in Tshwane in the wake of the resignation of Solium Zimanga, the reins of the metro now pass to Stevens Mokhalapa. Our reporter Michael Apple has the story.
I now, in terms of this section, declare Councillor Stevens Mokhalapa as the new executive mayor of the City of Tshwane Metropolitan Council.
Elected unopposed as the new executive mayor of Tshwane. Fully aware of the task ahead, the Democratic Alliance's Stevens Mokhalapa says he will focus on getting the basics right.
The basic, I mean this. It must fix the potholes. It must ensure that the traffic lights are working. It must ensure that we clean up the city. It must ensure that the street lights are replaced.
The new mayor certainly has his work cut out for him.
He's really inheriting an administration like a car with no wheels, no windscreen, no steering wheel, a car that is really broken. So we want him to explain to our people how is he going to do that, because the DA, his party, has damaged the city of Tshwane.
Meanwhile, the Red Berets, who'd previously voted with the Democratic Alliance to install former Mayor Solium Zimanga, say they're not making that mistake again.
Now that is elected as an executive mayor, but not through the EFF votes, and we're happy about that. We're going to award him an opportunity, at least for 3 months, to see if he does not follow in the footsteps of his predecessor.
The mayor's first order of business on Wednesday is to meet city manager Muaketsi Mosola over a controversial multi-billion rand contract the Auditor General recently found to be unlawful and invalid. Michael Apple, Pretoria.
Former ANC MP Faiki Mentor was cross-examined at the State Capture Commission this afternoon. In August last year, she testified before the Commission that while visiting at the Gupta's Saxonwold home in 2010, she was offered the position of Public Enterprises Minister. Well, the Zondo Commission has highlighted a number of inaccuracies in her testimony. For example, when shown documents that refuted parts of her testimony, such as phone records, she would not acknowledge them as factual. Now, Mentor says she feels attacked by the Commission, and she believes her evidence has been treated differently.
So I have felt that I've been cross-examined all the way and questioned all the way. My evidence has been questioned all the way and all the time. And nothing that corroborates my evidence has actually been brought forward. And I think that is a disbalance.
Yes.
In other news, former Revenue Services boss Tom Moyani's leave to appeal his axing from SARS has been dismissed. Today, the Constitutional Court said the case had no reasonable prospect of success. Moyani was sacked by President Cyril Ramaphosa last year following a recommendation by the Nugent Commission into maladministration at SARS. But Moyani's lawyer, Eric Mabuza, says the journey's not over. They're now planning to go to the High Court to submit a second part of their application. Meanwhile, Moyani is preparing to cross-examine Pravin Gordhan before the Zondo Commission on the 13th of March. A memorial was held today for DUT student Lungisi Madunsela, who was shot and killed during a student protest outside the Durban University of Technology last week. Now, university management was booed when they arrived at the memorial. Many students and EFF Student Command members were in attendance today. Let's head on eNews. Tens of thousands of Venezuelan opposition supporters filling the streets of Caracas in a bid to bring down President Nicolas Maduro's government.
And in your business, the rand was up today after yesterday's fall caused by Eskom stage 4 load shedding.
Let's talk business now with Rafiwa. Now, Rafiwa, yesterday you told us that Moodys came out saying, the restructuring of Eskom's not enough. Yeah. Now there's more today, and it's actually even more depressing.
It's a gloomier picture, Sally. They say that our electricity issues are set to continue for well into the 2020s, the mid-2020s. And before we just get some context, let me just show you that the deteriorating capacity of Eskom over the past 8 years. So we see on that graphic, we had about 82% in 2012 of capacity that Eskom was generating. Come down to 2019 year to date, we're down to about 65% of a generating capacity. And it's mind-boggling because their asset base is 88% of capacity generation. So their assets, 88% of their assets have been created to provide capacity, which just haven't been happening. So the report really talks about the fact that going into 2020 and going forward, Eskom really needs to sort out the issues at Kusile and Medupi. As Pravin Gordhan said, they have been badly constructed and they need to be fixed. Otherwise, their relevance going into 2030 is no longer going to be needed. And this is, of course, as renewables take on a bigger stance. The biggest problem with renewables, though, the Moodys report indicates, is that they're very expensive to construct within the country, and we just don't have those finances. And the IPPs that have come up, about 27 of them, are small companies. So it's getting those financial resources to start building and providing that electricity capacity. Another issue with IPPs is that they're not stable. So for example, if you look at solar and wind in your winter months, their capacity drops about 20%. So we really just need to come up with a sustainable plan, a combined plan, it says, between Eskom and IPPs, integrating the independent renewable resource plan and coming up with a sustainable power production for the country.
Yeah, my concern, we've had so many plans, which is the one that's going to work?
Exactly, Sally.
But a better day on the markets, I believe.
A better day on the markets, indeed, Sally. So the JSE shot the lights out today, but it was in a good way. The local bourse closed 1% higher, mainly driven by financials. Your retailers also had a good day, and they were led by the SPAR Group, which posted an 8.2% increase in its 17-week sales. On the commodities front, oil prices were almost 2% higher today, and they were supported by OPEC-led production cuts. On the gold front, the gold price posted some gains after the dollar rally took somewhat of a pause. Onto the local unit now. It seems the rand picked itself up after slipping on the proverbial banana peel yesterday. It's trading at around 13.77 against the US dollar.
Thank you very much. That's a little bit of good news. We'll definitely take that. Thank you very much, Rafiwa Madzana. We'll chat again to you tomorrow. Quick look at international news, and tens of thousands of Venezuelan opposition supporters are filling the streets of Caracas in a bid to keep up the pressure on President Nicolas Maduro. These images from just an hour or so ago. Now, Venezuela is suffering from hyperinflation, food shortages and a mass migration of citizens to neighboring Latin American countries. Now, these protesters support Juan Guaido, the head of the National Assembly, who swore himself in as interim president on the 23rd of January. The activists say Maduro has destroyed the economy through a corrupt exchange control system and arbitrary nationalizations. Maduro has accused the United States of trying to take over Venezuela. He's labeled Donald Trump a white supremacist. Well, still ahead, we'll go to Candice at our weather center, and then
me and my husband is on our own. We light our candles and we sit and chat like two old romantic lovers.
Making light of load shedding. Let's get your weather now with Candice McKechnie. Good evening to you, Candice. Now, Jeff asked me to ask you, how's the weather in Durban tomorrow ahead of that test match?
Hi, good evening, Sally. Well, it's not as wet as it has been, but we're definitely keeping in a really good chance of rainfall from tomorrow. In fact, still for much of the week, so I think the chances of rain are fairly good, especially for that in that part of South Africa. In fact, we've seen wet weather over the eastern part of South Africa over the last couple of days, and that is set to continue. We're expecting stormy weather over the eastern part of South Africa with the chance of rainfall all the way through to the Eastern Cape coastline. Bits of cloud builds up over the southern parts, clear over the western parts, but of course with that sunshine we're expecting the southeasterly wind to pick up into the afternoon. For the Northern Cape, you'll still see a few thunder showers for Kimberley, De Aar and Colesberg, but with a dry day for the rest of the province. Sunny and warm for much of the Western Cape with highs in the upper 20s and low 30s, partly cloudy and milder for George at 23 degrees. We're expecting rain along the Eastern Cape coastline with a few thunder showers as we head over the northern part of the province. And then, as mentioned, in KwaZulu-Natal, we're expecting showers and thunderstorms into Durban at 25 degrees, a 60% chance of thunderstorms throughout the province, Pietermaritzburg at 23. In the lower and middle 20s for the Mpumalanga Highveld, with a sizzling hot day for Skukuza at 38 with the chance of thunderstorms. Thunder showers also finally reach Limpopo on Wednesday, 31 degrees from Polokwane, and a toasty afternoon for Messina at 38. Quite a bit of cloud remains over northwest with highs in the mid-20s and up to a 60% chance of thunderstorms. That chance of thunder showers also extends through to the Free State, Bethlehem and Harrismith in the mid-20s, Soweto 23 degrees, with the rest of those highs in the mid-20s for Gauteng, with a cloudy day and up to a 60% chance of thunderstorms. On Thursday, you'll see fine and hot weather over the western parts with a bit of rain into KwaZulu-Natal, still cloudy and wet in the northeast with thunderstorms in the central parts, and by Friday, those thunder showers extend all the way through to the coast. That's all from the Weather Centre. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you so much, Candice. And finally, load shedding is a gloomy story, but it doesn't have to be. Tanya Neft hit the streets of Cape Town to find out how South Africans are turning that frown upside down.
Let's not make any bones about it. The latest load shedding is far from convenient. But as frustrated as many of us are, how about we look at that silver lining? In fact, it could even set the tone for a romantic Valentine's night.
Just when we thought load shedding was a distant, dark memory, it's back with a bang. Power outages mean just that, more time in the dark. And you'll have to get creative to bide your time. So just how do South Africans make the best of a bad situation?
Luckily we got the gas stove and we can cook on gas. Or sometimes we go into the yard and we go have a small braai and a little bit of romancing. Valentine's Day is here, you know.
We've got a portable radio that operates on batteries. We switch that on and we start dancing. Really? That's what we do.
Yes. Now, me and my husband is on our own. We light our candles and we sit and chat like two old romantic lovers. Yes. Because we married 55 years, so we were very, very happy and loving couple.
Yeah. The fire is still burning bright.
I tell you.
So while the load shedding continues, on the upside, it seems South Africans are adding a little light to their own lives despite it all. Tanya Neft, Cape Town.
Yeah, well, love has a brighter spark than Eskom, it seems. Let's recap your top story this evening. Pravin Gordhan slams the 2 new power plants and says external engineers and an independent audit of Eskom will help resolve the current power crisis. From me and the team, good night.